In the industry, people will say the black model. I mean, I've never considered myself a black person. In my country, we're all black, so there was not a point of me saying I'm black. Of course I'm black. You know what I mean?
Now let's get into who is Iman and where you came from. You know, there are many stories about how you were discovered. I mean, here's this beautiful African girl who becomes one of the top models in the most competitive
business.
More competitive business generally.
Yeah.
So tell us about this story.
Well, I was born and raised in Somalia. My father became an ambassador to Middle East. So he started in Sudan, then Saudi Arabia, but mostly was based in Saudi Arabia. The education for girls in Saudi Arabia wasn't that great, so he sent me to a boarding school in Egypt. So I went to school in Egypt most of my young adulthood. And in 1969, there was a revolution in Somalia, military coup. And so everybody was sent back home. And then people who were in government started either disappearing, being in jail. And so my mother was fearful for my father. And she decided one night, she just rented a van and just got us all in the middle of the night with just the clothes on our back. And went to the border of Kenya and literally crossed by foot the border. And instantly, overnight, just like that, I was, from a diplomat's daughter to a refugee in Kenya. And thank God the Kenyan government, took us in, and but there was a limited time that they can take care of us. And so we were given a scholarship, and I always wanted to be in the field of political science because my father and my uncles were all politicians. And so I was majoring in political science in Nairobi when I was living in campus at the Nairobi University. And I was going to work part-time at the Ministry of Tourism. I speak Italian and French, so I was translating the safari brochures for them in Italian and in French. So that was one of my jobs. And also I was, waitressing like all,
So the dream was not to be a model one day?
Oh no, I have never seen a fashion magazine in my life till I arrived in America. I've never worn makeup in my life. I've never worn heels in my life. I had no concept that there was a business that's called fashion. I had no idea.
Talk about the challenges as the first African model. How were you perceived? At the time you came here, the perceptions of Africa were completely distorted. It was Tarzan and Tarzan coming into the village, running out all these Africans. So you came and bang, here is this most beautiful woman from Africa.
I have to say to you, when I arrived, Peter Beard created a story before I arrived. So there was this huge interest and myth and mystery about me. Mind you, I was sitting in Kenya when he created this mystery and said, I have found the most beautiful woman in the world, and she is, I found her in the jungle, so to speak, and that she's over 6 feet tall. So everybody had this idea of how I would look because it was all written, and there was these pictures, but nobody really actually. There was a myth behind me. So when I arrived here, everybody thought, first of all, I didn't speak any English, and I speak 5 languages. Okay, so and they somehow in their head, I don't know what they have envisioned, but the vision that they had in their head was not what they saw. One of the things that the papers kept on writing and saying is that how regal I am.
You are.
I'm sorry. All Somalis are regal. So that's exactly how my sisters and brothers carry themselves. That's my whole nation carries themselves. So, do you know what I mean? It's like when I arrived here, people would say, in the industry, people would say, the black model. I mean, I have never considered myself a black person. In my country, we're all black, so there was not a point of me saying I'm black. Of course I'm black. So, I mean, I have been described as I look like a white woman dipped in chocolate. I mean, I think they think it's something to be proud of.
In those days, possibly it was.
But it's insulting. I don't have any white in me. I don't want white people claiming me. I have no white in me. I'm a pure Somali.
And Beverly Johnson,
yes,
then were and still are the top models. We set the bar so high. Young women are just aspiring to be the next Iman. In fact, we talked to Uluchi, yes, who admires you greatly.
Oh, I adore Uluchi. Yeah. Well, when I arrived here, Beverly Johnson was the top model in the industry. She was the first black model who was on the cover of American Vogue. So, I mean, she was at the height of her career. But when I arrived, they made a tension between the two of us. Because in this industry, it was always they only work with one black model at a time. They don't need more than one.
And it still continues.
Oh, it's still the same.
Yeah, because you say that even on designers will only have 2 black models or 2 Asian models.
Exactly. And that's even if they use them. Because it has been for a while, they haven't even been using any black models. And we're talking about at an era where we have Obama, a black president. So, so our industry is a little bit convoluted in the way it thinks. And it's a very racist business at its core. They say to black models nowadays, things like designers will say, we don't need black models this season. And this is today. We're not talking about 1975. We're talking about today.
But they're using Naomi Campbell a lot, and
of course, no, there are girls. As I said, there's one black at a time, one black girl at a time. Of course, there are a lot of, from Oluchi, Naomi Campbell, Tyra Banks, Veronica Webb, Naomi Lenoir. There are tons of black models, but they'll give a chance to one at a time.
There's one model who somehow brought about confusion, because after Iman, who supposedly looked like a white woman dipped in chocolate, then they brought out Alec Weck,
yes,
who was completely different. The features were not the perceived a white woman dipped in chocolate.
Yeah.
Your feelings about why all of a sudden such a major switch from a model that looked like Iman to a model that looked like Alec Weck?
I don't think that they were doing any switch. I think Alec Weck came on the scene. You know what I mean? One thing I really would like people to understand, the continent of Africa, there is not one look. Okay, we're not like saying England. We're not like saying France. We're not like saying Italy. That's a country. The difference between a country and a continent has a lot of countries within that border, right? So the south does not look like the north, and the east does not look like the west. Neighboring countries don't look the same. Okay, the Kenya and Somalia has their neighbors. They're attached to each other with a territory, and we look completely different. So the idea to say that I represent Africa, it's not right. Yeah, it's not right. But at the same time, the idea to say Alec Weck represents Africa is not right, because that means I'm not African. Do you know what I mean? But I don't think in the modeling business, it doesn't work, you're being replaced, your image. What it is, who comes on the scene. It's just the newness of the business. If somebody else comes today and Alec Weck is at her height, and if the girl looks completely different than Alec, that girl is because it's new. Our business is about new. And she just came on the scene. That's all it is. And when she came on the scene, I was working at the same time. We were both working at the same time. So it's not that anybody's replaced anybody, but it's just, it's a completely two different looks.
African beauty.
Well, I don't think there is any African beauty. As I said, because every country is so different from itself. So for me to say, to look regal, I'm saying that the person who doesn't have that quality is not beautiful. And I think there is an inherent Africanness in all Africans. And that's what makes us different, even from African Americans.
Before I get to those beautiful things there,
Yes.
what don't people know about you that you've always wanted to tell them?
I'm a very good homemaker. I'm a very good cook. And a great needle pointer.
Are you going to write a cookbook soon?
I don't know if I can write a cookbook. I'm one of those people who can read something, a recipe, and then never look at it and just cook it and make it better than it was. So I don't know. I mean, and I take bits from this because, I like to eat healthy and I don't like heavy food. So I will get ideas from a dish and then take a couple of things out and put my own thing. And then, I cook literally every day.
So also, you don't have a chef, huh? You
No,
don't
I don't have a chef. I'm not that rich.
No, David wants to make sure that he paid Lobola. Dowry in your country.
Yeah, dowry.
So he paid Lobola, so he wants to make sure
that I have to pay it. No, actually, I like cooking. I like cooking. Because if you live in New York, it is so easy to get in the habit of ordering in. People order in all the time, but that's not at home. Yeah, I like my daughter sit next to me when I'm cooking. The whole thing.
It's daughters. How many kids do you have?
I have 2 daughters. I have a 31-year-old and a 9-year-old.
You look 39 yourself.
I'm 54.
Did you say you have a 39-year-old?
No, 31.
31-year-old.
And a 9.
Okay, that's why I said you look 39.
No,
so
I'm 54.
Iman, as usual, what a pleasure.
Oh, thank you.
And I think we've done it today again, eradicating negative stereotypes about Africa.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's a place of wealth, it's a place of knowledge, and it's a place of humanity, Africa.